You did it.
We did it. Welcome, Jeff Dore. It's so good to see you.
You too.
You know, I'm not. You're so gorgeous. I I think now. Why do I know that you didn't age? It's because I've been seeing you on Facebook because
Uh,
we haven't seen each other for
a
oh
long time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I've missed
Well,
the last few reunions. So yeah.
well, I know you have some ceramics for sale. Did you bring that? You've got those all set up. We're gonna
I
feature.
have a few right here in front of me.
Okay, well let's get to that later.
Okay.
Just wanted to tease that so people will hang around to the very end because that's the part they're really gonna love, right?
All right. Well, just here, I'll do a quick tease. Okay. That's all you get right now.
Oh, it's amazing what you've done. Okay, what do you want to talk about, Jeff? What's on your mind?
Oh gosh. I'll tell you, you've talked to some people and you have these conversations and you talk about all these different people. And I'm going, what who are those people? And I'm one of those, I sort of drift through life and I just uh, yeah, it passes by. I remember one time talking with Bill Fanner. Yeah, we were in high school, and Bill, one of those real charismatic people we knew, and he talked one time about everybody in his second grade class, and he remembered all their names. I was going, I don't even remember the name of the teacher, much less who was in the class. And so, if don't start on all these different people in high school. uh, I felt like, high school was fine. I had a good time. Um, it was in college though that I thought, God, I love this stuff. I love these classes. I took so many classes, it took me 6 years, well, with some detours to graduate because I just kept taking summer classes and all these classes I didn't have to just because they were fun.
What, like, for example, what kind of classes?
A lot of writing classes and just weird variety of stuff. I mean, one that stuck with me was and kind of it might be prescient now was why is there political violence in the world? That was a summer class, and um, we went through all his scenarios. The professor wrote a book, and he checked out all these different things. You would think, well, it's because the poor people are downtrodden. They're going to have a revolution. And he went through all the stats, the charts, and all. He said, no, they're not going to have a revolution because they're living on life's edge. Well, it's not the rich people; it's the middle class that do it. And then he went through all the reasons why the middle class would do it. And so, and I'll tell you, the punchline at the end was, it's when um, the middle class could be doing better. Okay, their income, their situations, life is going up, but what they expect from life is always up here, and it's the gap is getting bigger, and that's when they have a revolution, and all through
Uh-oh.
history. Yeah. So anyway, classes like that, just weird, Asian art and writing poetry and all kinds of stuff. So I had a great time in college.
Well, I'm just curious, was there somebody or some teacher that sparked you in high school?
Um, going back, I no, I don't, I can't think of one teacher that really did. I mean, um, I remember I was really awful in chemistry, and I think over for between junior high and high school, it showed up like 3 times I had to take it, and I was so bad at it. At one time, one class, they actually had to call hazmat. Those big long thermometers, in chemistry with the mercury in it. You
Yeah.
shake those things down, smacked it on the lab table, mercury went everywhere. So, evacuate the room. We used to play with that stuff, but by then, it was hazardous material. Stuff like that. But in senior year, we had a teacher who was hot. And I can't remember her name.
I didn't have her. Donaldson?
She wore kind of tight sweaters. And when she wrote on the chalkboard, sometimes she would lean into it. And then when she turned around, she had chalk marks right here. And
Oh
yeah,
no.
so it was totally distracting. You couldn't hear anything anymore, but it was at least it was an enjoyable class.
Oh, I've never had her. Thank God I wouldn't have learned a thing.
How about you? What an inspiring teacher for you?
What inspired me? What?
Oh, an inspiring teacher you had.
Okay. Well, people have heard this before. I don't usually talk about myself because if I did, I'd be doing it every show. But I'll just give you two teachers that I've already talked about. Mr. Carey,
Yeah, yeah, I
it,
thought of him. Yeah,
you did have him
I did. Yeah,
in English 11th grade.
we may have been in the same class.
We could have been. We read Moby Dick together.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that showed me I could read. And we read a book a week for 10 weeks, I think.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And he was a character. He kept you entertained.
Oh yeah,
I liked his drama,
right.
he would read to us, and it
He
was,
liked to be combative and challenge us too.
yeah, and he liked to be the center of attention, and had kind of
Yeah,
the ego, and it was
yep,
great.
yep.
It was great. Um, oh, I could go on a
And
number of,
his actually was when you asked that question, he was the first name that popped into my head, to tell you the truth. And
yeah.
he actually got me. I just started doing writing just for the fun of writing. I'd never done that before, and was shown to him, and he was very encouraging. And and for the rest of my life, I've been a writer.
Well, there you go. There's our heartwarming La Jolla High School story from Jeff Dore. Now, I feel like I'm introducing a reporter. Why is that?
Well, when I finally decided on a major, and I ended up at San Diego State and in the telecommunications and film program, and I signed on to KCR, the student owned and operated rock and roll station, and I was going to be a DJ. And they put me on the early morning shift. That's what you do, when you're the new guy. And it turned out. I was probably the worst disc jockey in the history of disc jockeys. I was I was awful. Actually my sign-on shift, it was early in the morning, and I wasn't a coffee drinker, but I thought, well, this really, you need coffee. So I made a thermos of instant coffee, and I brought that. And in those days, you had turntables, right? And you put the LP on there, and you put the stylus on there, and you played a record. And they were all LPs, very important. So I'm drinking this coffee, and pretty soon my hands are shaking so much I couldn't put the stylus on the record without it just going. So all I could do was brace my hand on the table and reach over and put it on the very first track. That was as far as I could reach and do this. And so I had 4 hours on the air of nothing but the first track on every album. But I excelled at news, and I became the news director. I set up their whole news department. I coached everybody in how to write news. And then when I graduated, I went looking for a news job, and I realized I love making movies. This is what we did in that department. And so I set out for a job as a reporter in TV news. And I got in my car and started driving around. In those days, you didn't have a tape. There was no tape. You just drive around with a resume and knock on doors in small markets and, hey, can I interview for a job? The closest place that would hire me. Okay, now think of the map. La Jolla is down in this corner of the map, unless I'm turned around.
That's
Um,
fine.
my first job was in Bangor, Maine. That was the closest place to La Jolla that would hire me. But I got the job there. I was the 6 and 11 o'clock anchor. I shot film, I edited it, I did interviews, I reported. I did everything. I produced the 11 o'clock show. And I even took out the trash for a while. And it was absolutely so fun. It was wonderful.
And
So I
how
stuck
old
with
were
that.
you there? And how
That
long?
was, let's see, 76 when I got that job. And then I got laid off after a year, moved down to Richmond, Virginia. And I said I would never, ever, ever live in the South. Remember, we grew up in the 60s, civil rights and snarling dogs. And, it was a horrible, horrible thing. I would never go to the South. Next job was in Richmond, Virginia. And I anchored the noon show and reported. And after 9 months, I had a blow up with the boss. And of course, bosses win. So I got fired, went to Nashville, I was heading the right direction to get back to San Diego, and I stayed there for 4 or 5 years and finally got to quit a job. I got married there, still married, 43 years, and she's from Arkansas. And when it was time for me to move to a bigger market, this is what you do in TV, you move to get to a bigger market. And she lovingly said, Jeff, I will move anywhere you want to go in the South.
Because
So here we are in Atlanta. And I had a 30-year career here as a reporter on TV
here we are where?
in Atlanta.
Atlanta. And I think I saw you on the top of Sugarloaf Mountain recently, or some stone.
Oh, Stone
Yeah.
Mountain, Georgia. Yes, it's in the suburbs here, and it's I think the biggest granite outcropping in America, or some it has some title like that. And it's a mile to walk. No, it's a half a mile to walk up, so a mile round trip. And there's a trail. It gets steeper and steeper as you go, and it's a challenge. And I used to do it a lot. I haven't done it lately. And so that last time when you saw me. Um, that post. It was the first time I'd done it well. It was slow going, but I made it up.
Well, Jeff, let's just go back. Let's try again. Let's go back fishing into the memory pond here.
Okay.
Um, what about extracurricular activities? Did you join a club? Did you do sports?
Well, I couldn't do, I've never been able to do anything involving a ball. The coordination to hit a ball, especially a moving ball. I could do ping pong. That's the only thing in my life I've been able to do with a ball. Um, but I was into surfing, and was never particularly good at it. But there was a move, I guess, our senior year to start. It was a surfing club. It wasn't a team sport, but we made it a club sport. And La Jolla, we had great surfers around us, and they elected me president of the club basically because I was the only one who would actually go to a meeting. And so I became the president. Um, and we, as I recall, we have a pretty good season as a club sport. And then Henry Hester was on that, and some other guys that were they were so, Henry went on to be like an international skateboard champion. Um, and besides being a surfer, and he is the most outdoorsy guy you'll ever hear of. And when I was in Richmond one day on a Saturday, I was sitting around with nothing to do. I turned on the TV. Wide World of Sports was on, and I was listening. It was a skateboard championship, and I'm listening. I went, I know that voice. Who is that? I couldn't place the voice. They went to the guy doing the color commentary was Henry Hester, past champion of the
Yeah.
sport. So anyway, my I excelled at body surfing, and I was passionate about body surfing, and literally in the summer we'd get up, and some of us would go say down a Marine Street or something, and if the tides were right and the waves were right, we would stay in the water till it was time for lunch. And then we'd get out, we'd go home, we'd get our lunches, and then we'd get back in the water in the afternoon, wherever the waves were breaking. We would drive around town and see where the good break was. And we'd stay there until it was too dark, till you couldn't see the waves coming anymore. And we did that every day for a couple of summers. It was wonderful. So I miss those days. That was fun. We knew we grew up in paradise, didn't we?
Yeah, those crisp winter days, but I didn't have anything to compare it to. Now I'm in Oregon, and I know it's sunny somewhere.
Yeah, my brother lives in Eugene. He tells me about that.
Uh-huh. But yeah, when I've gone down to San Diego, as after many, many years up here, that's when I really appreciated what February and January can really look like somewhere in the world.
Yeah, we went there for like Christmas, when the parents were still alive. We go out there for Christmas
Yeah.
and you're going, how can this be December? This is impossible. Yeah.
That's right. We had my wife's parents were down there. We would make the migration, and I would say, "Oh my gosh, what a nice day." And their dad would say, "Ah, just another day in paradise."
True. He was right.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. I never, ever, ever got tired of walking on the beach and on the rocks and the reefs and snorkeling and all that stuff. So yeah.
So tell me about, you said when we would go, when some of us would go down to the beach, who were the us? Who'd you go with?
Oh gosh. There were just sort of the whole Wind and Sea Lane, Marine Street, mostly Sea Lane, I guess. There was a bunch of people. And now I'm not going to be able to come up with names. I could do it, but I'm not going to come up with the names. But yeah, there was just sort of a group that hung out there at Sea Lane. And for a while, so when I was a baby, we lived at the bottom of Marine Street. Not the house right on the street. There was the seawall, and there were houses on each side of that, and there was a cross street right there. We were the next house. We're on the other side of that street,
Oh, wow.
and that's where I started my life. And then uh, parents bought a lot more toward Bird Rock and Avenida Cortez. And while that house was being built, they sold the first house. They're building that one. We lived at the bottom of Dunemere Drive. And this was a few blocks, well, it's like another block south of Sea Lane. Okay, so Marine Street, Sea Lane, and then Dunmere was this little street. It didn't even go all the way down. There was a little walk, a little sidewalk that went down to the beach, and we were in the rental house right there. This drafty old wooden beach house, that'd been there forever. It had one floor furnace, I mean, this is a rental, and so we lived there. Well, the new house is being built. So when Dad died some years ago, and Gail and I went out and we went to the funeral, and all this stuff, and we're walking around La Jolla. We went to the arcade and we're walking through there, and there was a real estate office at one end. And we always look at, what's going on. And I looked down, and there was this one of the glossy magazines, that have the really nice houses that they put in a glossy magazine. That house was on the cover, selling for, at the time, this is probably 10 years ago, $12.2 million.
Oh my
And it
God.
was a junky rental when we were in it. I think they'd fixed the heating.
Well, they did that. Well, that made it well worth it. And
Yeah.
the heating was there. All right.
And since leaving, really, since going off to Maine, actually even since high school, life has just been adventures, a series of adventures and calamities. I've told my kids all their lives, the best stories you will have in life are the disasters that you survived. And if you don't survive them, then you don't have to worry about telling stories. But that those are always the best stories you have.
I've got one. I won't go into it, but I was, it was a low point, and I'm laying there in some freezing mud, and I think to myself, it's probably not going to get any worse than this.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I went
Well,
through chemo back in 2003, and
ooh,
that was pretty awful. And I was stage 4
oh,
leukemia, and I had chemo, and it was a pretty rough time. And after I got over the initial, oh, woe is me, and all that kind of crap, a little depression for a few weeks. And then I went, wait a minute, no, this is an adventure. I reframed it
mm.
as an adventure. And after that, it changed everything. It was like, okay, we'll get through this round, and oh, barfing, isn't that an adventure?
Oh,
And made it
wow.
through, came out the other end and been in remission for 20 something years now. And I've had, I had a snake bite, got bit by a copperhead some years ago, and another unpleasant adventure, but it made for a good story. Heart
Mm.
attack, made it through that. Another adventure, and I've got this health thing going on now. This is the crazy adventure. Cystic fibrosis.
Oh, man.
Yeah, which I don't know if you know about that. It's a genetic thing. You're born with it. It's a mutation from both
I
your
did see
parents.
your drive. You're doing a fundraiser, but with you,
Yeah.
it's been very slow moving. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's in 52, if I'd had a typical case of cystic fibrosis,
Yeah.
and I've got a weird variation. But if I'd had a typical case, I probably would have been dead by kindergarten. And as time went on, they started coming up with treatments. No drugs, no cures, nothing like that. But they had better treatments like pounding on your back for an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, back and chest. This is the kind of stuff you had to do. The life expectancy was mid-teens, probably dead by 18. Um, but mine didn't show up until I was in my 30s. Again, atypical case. When I got pneumonia with an infection, they went, grown-ups don't get that. People don't get that. And so I survived it. And over the years, I've had probably 30 lung infections. A number of them, they've taken samples out of my lung and put them under the microscope and said, we don't even have a name for this. I mean, we've never seen a person with whatever this thing is. And so this went on. And then last year, the right doctor saw me and he asked a few questions. He said, I know what's going on. You have a weird case of CF. And I said, no, that kills you young. He said, not in your case. He said, the good news is there's a drug. It just came out. Cystic Fibrosis Foundation paid for all the research and development, like $1 billion that they raised with fundraisers. And so I'm on that drug now, and it's a life changer. It's wonderful. No more getting pneumonia, no more hospitals. I'm running in this 10K. Couldn't have done any of this, and so I'm doing this fundraiser to to go to the next level, trying to find a cure.
Oh, yeah,
But again, it's an adventure.
that is beautiful. Oh my gosh.
It's all an adventure. When after the leukemia thing, when I got healthy enough after that, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society had a fundraising thing, team and training, and they will train you for an endurance event. And I had been riding my bike, getting my strength back, and I thought, huh, well, I gotta look into that thing. And what they said is train with us for 3 months, and we'll train you to do a 100-mile bike ride. And I went, well, that's nuts. But I signed up. And I sort of guilted a couple of friends to sign up too. And over the years, we did, I think, 5 of these century rides, 3 of them around Lake Tahoe. And an absolutely stunning day of hard day, stunning day riding your bike. But yeah, I raised a lot of money for them doing this from donations. And so then when I got the cystic fibrosis thing, what did I do? Signed up for their fundraiser with the Peachtree Road Race 10K, and this is my second year trying that. And I've never been a runner, never. I couldn't run once around the La Jolla High School track, couldn't do it. And I jokingly say I'm the founder and sole member of the Holiness Church of Don't Ever Ever Run or God Will Smite You Dead on the Spot. And I was a faithful member of that until last year.
Wow.
And so I took up running.
You reframed it, it sounds like again.
Yes. Reframe it. Yeah.
We the first time you told that,
You're frozen up here.
the story you told about reframing,
Wait, there, I got you back. Okay.
you told about reframing when you had I think it was cancer with chemo.
Yeah.
Um, what got you to that mindset? What gave you that word? What gave you that attitude, that tool?
That's a really good question. I don't know why that popped into my mind, but I know that, there are we've all had crises, right? I mean, we've all had things that we went, I don't know if I'm going to live through this. And anybody watching this, of course, has lived through them. But, um, you know, body surfing. Um, I'd get out of some big waves, and I can remember twice. where there were big waves. And you know how when a wave gets you, you're turned upside down. You're just tumbling around, and all the bubbles, no bubbles are rising. They're just there. And so you just have to guess where the surface is. And so I was swimming, 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 swimming. I'm almost out of breath. I mean, really close, thinking, I hope I'm almost at the top. And I hit the bottom and went,
Oops.
oh shit, it's that way. And I pushed off and I'm going up and I'm thinking, I was out of breath at the bottom. I got to get to the top. And I made it. And what did I do? I went back and caught another wave.
Yeah.
So, that's it's what we've all done. I think I just recognized because of experiences like that, that's what you do. You have these things. And I thought of that as a crazy adventure. I'm still telling the story 60 years later, right? It's one of those that if you survive it, you can tell the story forever.
Well, in body surfing, and I guess in life as well, it's sometimes it's good to hit the bottom. You have something to push off of.
There you go. Good lesson.
Jeff, this has been amazing. I can't wait to talk to you again. Now, would you come to the next damn reunion?
If I've survived the next calamity, I'll try to be there.
We'll make it the next one then. Uh, all right. Well, Jeff, I'm going to give you a chance to sign off here. You've signed off on many a show, so why don't you take it and close us out?
Well, after doing, I've probably interviewed 30,000 people in my career, and this is a very rare time for me to be interviewed. So it's been fun, and it's great to see you.
Thank you, Jeff. All right. We got to see each other soon.
Okay,
You
sounds like
take
it.
care. You take
Okay,
care.
bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I don't know how we sign off. I'll let you do it.